I can take photographs of that. And, put your little sandals to the side and you can put it in the catalogue.
Yeah, I was noticing my boy Alexander's feet this morning. They're brown tanned, you know. They've got such a nice tan because he's never worn shoes, you know.
Make money out of that.
The shoe catalogs.
His feet tough when he walks on any terrain.
There's no terrain other than the hot terrain. Like when they're very hot, the tarmac gets too hot for his feet. But otherwise, any stones, he's never complained about that. Sometimes when he was young, I'd get him home and he'd have like a little thorn in his foot, and he wouldn't have told me. He'd carry on walking right through it. So.
You never get a shoe on his foot out, would you?
No. Well, we tried it a little bit just to be decent or fit in, as it were. But we bought him a few pairs and stuff like that. But actually, I prefer it. But he's always got people going, "Oh, why is he not wearing shoes?" You know, children will even say, "Why is he not wearing shoes?"
People jump to the wrong conclusion.
Yeah. I've had people look at me too. Well, I had the police come to my door.
You did.
I had the police come to my door twice on this occasion because someone complained about your son and you were seen barefoot in the cold weather. They said to my wife, it's not normal to go barefoot. My wife, can you hear yourself? We were born with no shoes. We've just become softened to the idea that we always have to put shoes on. People go to me all the time, "Oh, be careful, he might stand in poo or glass or whatever." I'm like, well, he's pretty good about the glass now, and the poo, it washes out easier than on my shoe. You know, it's very easy to clean a foot. It's clean your skin. We do it every time we go to the toilet. So, yeah, it's important, I think, to try and keep that going. But it's like anything else. If you don't, you will, like, he would get used to shoes. But now he wouldn't put shoes on now. I think, and he started, even at 2, he's starting to feel like, yeah, I'm glad I don't wear shoes. Yeah. Anyway, I just went live while we were chatting there, so I hope you don't mind. I'm giving some out of these nice flyers that Howard left from last week. If you want to you can take some. No, I mean to give them out. If you want to give them out, they're a good conversation starter. I got a few more.
We was just stood here when we got the conversation going.
Yeah.
Everything. We've included it all.
Okay. Well, if you want to drop some more on people, let me know. I got plenty more. I'll get you some. Hello friends, I'm Speaker's Corner, as you can tell. Just doing a bit of this thing, you know? Doing what has to be done. There you go. Hi guys. It's Barry.
You should have a 66-foot drop. You shouldn't to the lighthouse. You shouldn't to the lighthouse, not mind the beam.
We're doing science. This is science.
Okay, above a certain height, the ship can see it from here because the height is over.
We're going on that. We're going on that with George.
No, he's saying that you can see it.
To say that it's in the lighthouse, we can see from miles away because here is flat.
10 miles away, there should be a 66-foot drop. A 60-foot lighthouse, you shouldn't see the lighthouse.
I might have to take my chances with chalk. You might have seen actually, I did a little bit of chalking on my way in. I caught one of them on video. Actually, it was pretty cool because as I was riding one of them down, a guy came past me and said, "Hey bro, what's this?" So I said, "Earth is flat." He said, "Yeah, I know that. It says so in the Bible." I'm like, yes. I'm gonna just hit this here. Sorry, Steve. We battle not against, flesh and blood, but against principalities. That's okay. Is Earth flat? I'm asking the question today, is Earth flat? Level. Perfect. Water is always level. Hope that you guys don't mind. I just hit a little bit of chalk down. Yeah, sorry Steve. My friend the police dude. Can't help myself. I was overcome. Okay.
When I was with Heiko there, I ordered 2 black and white.
Hello. How are you?
Hello.
You alright? It's been a while.
We're still focusing on geoengineering.
Flat, like level. Well, I'm asking the question because we found out that there's no experiment that shows that the Earth is turning. It's only all we can show is that the sky is moving, but not the ground. No, I'm talking about experiments that we can do. But satellites, actually, we've never. All the satellites we have, by the way, we've never actually seen a photograph of a satellite or a video of a satellite. Everything we've got on Google is CGI.
No, seriously, no. You've seen the spaceships going to spin around.
Spaceships? Okay, no, well, I mean, I know about the ISS, how's it, right? I know. Hey. I know about the ISS. People tell me they can film it and stuff, and I believe that they are seeing something in the sky.
The Earth is flat, it's not day and night.
What if there was a small? Got to kind of dial back to what if there was a? Okay, before we get too far.
If it's flat, the water is not going to be level. It's going to be everywhere. Because the beauty of this is around, but it's stuck together.
What? Where can you show me?
You see the moon anyway in your eyes.
Yeah.
What's the
Okay.
difference between the moon and the Earth? It's smaller.
The moon. Well, so like I was watching some bowling this morning.
It's closest to your eyes.
Do you know what bowling?
Maybe you see something else.
Do you know what bowling is?
I have pictures.
Yes.
Go finish it.
Huh? I have pictures of. No, I was filming some people playing bowls this morning with balls on a flat surface. But it's because the moon is round doesn't mean Earth is round, right? I better get rid of this chalk in my hand. It could be seen as evidence in the case against me. They don't like us drawing on the floor anymore. While you're doing that, I just want to write some more. I'm right here, brother. Are you Muslim? No. You have any religion?
Christian.
Christian. So you know, like the Muslims, their preachers.
Is it flat?
No. When I grew up as a Christian, and in 12, 13 years old, I told a preacher that the Bible says the Earth is flat. That's what I saw.
What you thought?
Hello. The Bible says the Earth is flat.
Wait.
Well, there's like 200 verses that imply that the Earth is not moving, that the sun and the moon
Okay, that's
come.
I take him the sun. I take him the other day. That's the last week when it's sun. That's the sun.
Yeah.
That's the sun.
Yeah.
Look at this behind us. Do you think it's us? The moon?
No, that's called like a reflection of your lens.
No reflection. It's two. I take 2 pictures.
Ah.
So it's one here
Yeah.
and the sun on top. You thinking that's flat?
No, I can't tell you for sure, but let me.
No, that's by camera. It's by just.
No, I know, but I've been
it's
looking
by
at this
eyes.
for a
It's
while.
not-
Well, it looks
it's not-
round.
No, not
As
mixed
in,
crop or
but
something else.
let me be clear.
Look at this. Look at this. That's the sun. Something underneath. That's not the moon. Never been underneath. The moon never ever been underneath. Opposite, always opposite. Always opposite.
Yeah.
Always opposite.
Yeah.
But that's something else.
Okay.
That's something else. Definitely
Yeah.
no more.
Well, there's some people say there's a second sun going on, but that's another
Maybe
conversation.
that's-
We're too far
We're
away
not sure
from.
about second sun.
I think what we've got to stick with at the moment for now is how that we can't measure that. We can't do a science experiment that proves the Earth
No,
is moving.
I think your idea is wrong.
It's not my idea.
No,
the mainstream science is that.
I seen lots.
First,
I studied lots about the sun, the earth. I know how circle are they.
Okay.
I know. This is not ball, but it's like egg shape. Egg.
Okay.
Not 100%.
And how do you measure that curving Earth? How do you know the measurement or the formula that they apply?
Yeah, because from the top to the bottom is different size from the right to left.
Okay. So
it's less.
So if we were here in England and we were going to travel to Spain or France or anywhere,
Okay, the sun
we,
is the
let me
stand. The
ask
sun
you
is
the
the stand.
question.
It's
Can
not
I
moving.
can
Sun
I
is
ask
sun.
you the question?
No, no, I
Can
want
I
to
ask you the
prove
question? No, you're not. No, I'm asking you a question about something that we can measure and test. You're telling me about things that are outside that I can't measure.
Where they know the distance between the sun and the moon and the earth between the moon.
you know?
They know the difference.
Do you know?
Yeah, definitely they know.
No, but do you know
I know like about 150 million or something like this.
what the Earth, the Sun? Do you know that in the last 100 years they've moved the Sun about 13 times, and the closest it's been, I think it was Kepler said it was 3 million miles away. The furthest it's been is 103 million miles away, and currently they say it's 93 million miles
They
away.
they discover lots of planets 200 million
But
years away.
let's stick with things that you and me can test for ourselves, because I don't trust you. I don't trust the religious people anymore, and I don't trust the scientists anymore, because all the stuff that they gave me, I can demonstrate it to be either misinformation or incomplete information. So,
But
for
it's
example,
easy for me to say that's your T-shirt is no white.
no, we'll agree that this is white. If I had to give you a palette, a color palette, you and I would pick out the same color on that color palette. For your shirt, we may call it a different name, but we pick out on the palette, we pick out the same color.
Yeah,
our
but
eyes
there's
work the
still-
same, sir.
still not
Our
flat.
eyes work the same, and
You
our
can't
eyes
say
also
it's
lie
flat.
to us, because it makes us think that at 3 miles there's the horizon. 3 miles, they say in science. If you're standing on a beach, 3 miles, maybe 4 miles is the horizon. That's what they say.
Okay, you mean the earth is flat like this?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it's got mountains and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
but you're saying that's what
Okay,
they say.
yeah.
So this is Australia here. So Australia here, Britain here, America here.
I'm not going to get into the map.
no,
The map
it's
is
fine,
we need to get past.
No, we
We
don't
need
know.
to get past water is always level.
Okay, if you're traveling from here to, say, for example, to Dubai.
Thanks for sticking with me.
For Dubai.
Yeah,
How many hours take you to get there?
about
No
8
stop.
hours, 7 hours, 8 hours.
Six and a half, 7.5.
Okay.
7.5.
Okay.
So when in the way back, why is getting more?
How much more?
Like 20 minutes, 21 minutes, 25 minutes. Actually.
What if there was
Why?
like a wind? What if there was
No,
wind?
there's no wind. We're not talking about wind. Wind is
Okay.
always is
Well, what do you
airplane.
put it down to?
The earth when it's moving,
Yeah.
and the fly moving like this,
Yeah.
it's moving with it. So it's taking longer. So when he's moving other side,
Yeah.
the earth is getting That's why I
How
tell you,
fast?
you know.
How fast?
It's no make
It's
issue.
important.
It's
no,
20,
no, it's
20 minutes, 20 minutes.
This is an important one.
It's
So
20
okay,
minutes,
let's stick with
25
your
minutes.
example.
I know, I'm traveling lots, I know the difference.
Okay.
You seen it when you book
Okay.
from fair to
No,
air,
no, no.
you know the difference,
I
the way
understand that.
difference.
I understand that. But now, if we're going to work out, if I was the airline pilot or I was the airline company, and I was trying to work out how
Okay,
long it would
that's
take,
looking this.
let me finish.
That's looking
Allow me to
this.
finish, sir. You're
Okay,
not
that's
wanting to
turning
hear
around.
me. Eh? You're not wanting to hear me. Listen to me.
because the
You tell me.
idea
Well,
is
you
it's
tell me
a-
if the Earth's spin is a factor. All right. So the Earth is the plane is either moving with the spin or against the spin, is what you're saying. That's the difference.
He's not change of spin. It's a spin is spin.
Spin is spin, but it's moving
speed is speed.
west to east, right, or east to west.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
How fast is it traveling east to west?
It's normal. You can't feel it.
Huh?
The trouble
You
from
can't
the
feel
earth,
it.
You can't feel it.
No, we can't feel it.
You can't feel it. Otherwise,
exactly. So your
the
senses-
way is everything.
All right. So your senses
It's
are
not-
telling you you're not moving.
Soft. It's not moving, but it's very soft.
But what speed? You don't know?
You know speed.
I see. I had to go back and learn all of this stuff. When I discovered that water is always level and that they say
you
Earth
could
is
arrange
curving.
it. You could arrange it because the spin from 24 hour to 0 hour.
Yeah.
You could know how many spin. It's only one. Like within 24 hours, it's one spin.
Yes.
So that's the speed divided by
All right.
the time and divided by
So,
minutes.
okay, so
You
what
know how
speed are we
many-
talking about?
Speed, I don't know the speed, but you could calculate it.
Can I offer you the information because I've looked into this and you haven't? Can I give you the information?
Yes, tell me.
Okay. So at the equator, we're moving at about 1,000 miles an hour.
Probably.
No, not probably. That's what they say because it's 24,900 miles around the equator. So to get 24,000 miles into 24 hours.
Let me correct my information. So that's the earth, that's the sun.
Yes.
And that's the earth. It's spinning 1,000 times around
1,000 miles an hour at the equator.
to spin.
That's in one direction. That's before you talk about going around the sun at 66,000 miles an hour.
No, just one day.
Yeah,
We're talking
yeah,
about one
yeah,
day.
yeah.
So 1,000 times it's spinning around the sun.
1,000 miles per hour.
Speed.
Yes.
I don't think so.
I know, isn't it crazy? That's what it is, my friend. Work it out. I'm going to go and talk to someone else. You got lots of homework to do. If you don't even know that, and you're telling me you know why the plane is taking 20 minutes longer, but you don't know that the plane is actually having to fly against 800 or 700 miles an hour, which is what it would be up at Dubai, and the pilot doesn't even have to make allowance for the changing speed as you get closer to the North Pole, because the North Pole is not moving. But the equator, 1,000 miles an hour.
Okay.
You work it out.
1,664
Kilometers.
66
Sixes.
kilometers
Lot
an
of
hour.
sixes. Lots of sixes, eh? That's 1,000 miles. Let's not.
This
quibble over that.
means is 333 times speed of luminance, speed of light. 3 times.
Okay, let's not get into speed of light. Let's get into
It's
the
not
speed of plane.
manageable.
Do you know that speed is twice as fast, 3 times as fast as the plane can fly? So if the Earth was truly spinning underneath the plane would never catch up. The plane
Yeah.
would only have to go in the air and wait for Dubai to arrive in about 3 hours' time.
Yes, I know.
My friend, there's lots of work to do. Earth is flat. There's not much you can do about that. I ain't in the mood for making nice with the ball brains. But I do need some water. Oh, there's Roxanne. Last week I was here with Howard George Stirrup, as it is in hello darling, as it is in stirrup, as in a horse stirrup, STIRRUP. Please go and check out his channel, and if it's not your trouble, to subscribe. Oh, that's my hand. There's Roxanne, the globalist denier. She's talking to someone about cupcakes. Hi guys, you're looking for some info? Can I give you some info? You want some information? All right, you look like young men. Your entire lives you've been indoctrinated to believe, initially when you were like 3 years old like me, that Santa Claus is going to go around the world in one night and give all the good children presents. You were also told that gravity is a wonderful force that with relativity will allow you to walk on the underside of a ball. Not only will it allow you to walk on the underside of a ball, it will cleverly hold trillions of tons of ocean to the underside of that ball. And it will have allow ships and planes and all that sort of thing to go about their business as though they're going around on a flat plane. Now, the moment you spin anything up in physics, the water wants to leave it. The water wants to depart very quickly. But we're told that gravity is so clever that it'll hold it super strong at the equator and just a little bit up at the North Pole, because it doesn't need to, you know how like the faster it is at the outside and it's very slow at the top? That's where all the water is meant to be leaving. There should be a bulge in our Earth of all the water gathered around the equator waiting to leave, but because of gravity we're told it'll never leave. Now, 4 years ago, at the age of 47 I discovered that there is a formula for the curvature of the Earth. Have you been taught that ever? All right, no, you've never been taught it. It's not in any of your science books, my friend. It's not in any of your science books. But we all know about the blue marble, right? We all know that we live on a marble, almost a perfect ball, but they say oblate spheroid, just to kind of give something else to argue about. But let's just call it, for the sake of argument, a ball, right? That's what we live on. Now, if you're standing on the top of a ball, everywhere around you, the ball is going to be slowly dropping down, but getting quicker and quicker until you get halfway or a quarter of the way down on the equator, if you like, where you're now standing at 90 degrees from the original position that you started. Would you agree? Right, but they tell, so let's not get into, okay, you still feel like you're upright because of relativity. They tell you that it should be 8 inches in the miles squared as you move away from you, that everything is bending down. Okay, what if I was to say to you that over 10 miles that would be 800 inches or 66 feet of curvature of water? But we know we can see France from England, and that's 25 miles away, and that should be 300, 400 feet of curvature. That curvature doesn't exist. That water we know is level. A small lake or a cup of water or the Suez Canal, all of these are bodies of water that we can go and test with a laser to find that they are level. The pyramids are 400 meters in their length, and they were built using water to level them off. If it was true that water is always bending because it's being pulled to the center of a 24,900 mile circumference ball, there should be a 2-inch variance from one side of the pyramid to the other because of the natural bending over 400 meters. But over a mile lake, they say there should be 8 inches, and over a 2-mile lake, 32 inches of curvature. And the formula just gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and the number gets higher and higher. And you're meant to think that, or not think, that when the ship leaves England and it gets to France, it's either lower then it's starting point or it's on the same level. And I'm offering you guys that the truth is that it's at the same level. And when the ship comes back, it's going to be on a level body of water. Yeah, the tide might go up, down 10 feet. There might be chop, wave, swell, all that sort of thing, yes. But there's not going to be hundreds of feet of drop from my ship, my port, to your port on the other side. If I ask you to build like a model of Earth, we can't build one physically. We can't build one of a ball that spins in space or anything. All of our globes are sitting on a hard thing, and none of them will ever have water on it, because the moment you put the water on, it will fall off. But we're told, oh, gravity will take care of that. But all gravity is that when I pick up my keys and drop them to the floor, people say that's gravity. And that's not enough to say, and that also then allows me to have water clinging to the underside of a ball and ships sailing on the underside of a ball.
So where does Earth end?
I don't know. There's lots I don't know. There's lots I won't claim here. I'm just trying to bring to your attention, and you're very young lads, and I admire that this is so. It's taken me 47 years to find out. When I was your age, though, I did tell my preachers that, because I was in a Christian upbringing, I did tell them that the Bible is a flat earth book, because the Bible is riven with references to the earth not moving, the sun and the moon being small lights that go over the sky and that can be stopped and all that sort of stuff. But the truth is that, getting back to your point, there's lots I don't know.
How do you explain that? How do you explain day and night?
Sorry guys, that was all zoomed in. How do I explain day and night on a flat earth? I'm not absolutely sure, but I'll tell you that for sure that the Terminator line that we see on a globe Earth model makes no sense when you, like I have grown up in South Africa, but I've lived here for the last 25 years, and I know for sure that the long evenings that you get here in the UK do not match anything like I got down in the subtropical region of South Africa. It's daytime and nighttime within about half an hour, maybe an hour, whereas here you can get these long, expansive, gentle kind of move from night to day or day to night. Now, I can offer you, if you like, just a theory on a wire, because typically we say that the Earth, the sun and the moon are two lights in the sky. We're an electromagnetic universe, and that light is actually only a small light that can only cast a certain amount of light at any one point. So it's only lighting up. If I was to offer you that it was, say, your sports hall, like a basketball hall, right? And we had a fairly powerful torch, we could only light up some of the basketball court at one time, and as we moved around the basketball court, so the light would bring brightness to that area and recede with darkness in the other areas. So that's how typically we look at that. There's a number of models I'd love to discuss, but they get deeper into how this is some sort of electromagnetic system with a negative polarity on the Earth and a positive polarity up on the roof. And the roof is maybe 100 miles high, and there's some kind of interaction between those two.
So do you believe the sun is light?
I believe the sun is a light that you resolve, like a point of light that you resolve. I sun gaze early in the morning and late in the evening, and when you sun gaze, you'll see that actually all it is like a black hole, and we're feeling the heat of it. But there's a lot of things that you can't explain. Like for example, with the moon. I can show you, if you go and watch the moon carefully over about 6 hours of a night on a full moon, you'll see the moon roll like this at about half the speed of your hour hand. I've been watching that for 3 years, so I can confidently tell you that you will see that if you're willing to test this for yourself. Friends of mine have done another important experiment that you can do yourself, and that is to take 2 glasses of water with electronic thermometers in them, put one in the shade and one in the direct moonlight, and you will find that the moonlight one gets colder. And they've taken a magnifying glass and made the water gets up to 10 degrees Fahrenheit colder than in the shadow of the moon. We're saying that the moon is actually a cold light. There's nowhere is it reflecting the sun. What I was taught at school was that when you see a half moon, the reason for the half moon is because the Earth is shadowing the moon. But I can show you that same half moon when both the sun and the moon are above the Earth. Both above the sky. Impossible for the moon and the sun to be, or the Earth to be occluding or shadowing onto the moon. When the sun and the moon are, for at least 2 weeks of the month, you can see both the sun and the moon during the daytime. And here's an interesting thing about the moon, is that the dark parts of the moon or the shaded part of the moon always matches the sky behind it. These are things you'll remember for the rest of your life, and you'll go and look at these things and go, shit, that guy was right, you know. The moon, if it was true that the moon was a rock in space, then the dark side, as you see the shadow of it, should actually be black. It should be like a rock. But what we see is it's blue, just like the color of the sky. At night it'll look black, yeah. But people have been able to film straight through with high-powered cameras, straight through the moon, and see stars on the other side. So no, there's a lot wrong with the science that we've been given. But as I said, I promise you, if you go and spend a few hours, you have to mark a position on the moon, because the moon's got those two like mouth and an eye. If you go and look at it, it's got while you're in the UK, you see a mouth and an eye. And if you go and watch that and come back, mark it, say, oh, there it is, about the 2 o'clock position. Come back in the middle of the night, it'll be like at the 4 o'clock position. You go, shit, it has moved. But we were never taught that. And the thing is that they say, oh, there's a dark side of the moon, but we could send a camera around the back and take a picture of it during the new moon, because at new moon, the moon should be in front of the sun. Therefore, the back of the moon, the back of the head, should be getting full sun. We should be able to send a probe around there anytime. We can send probes for millions and millions and millions and millions of miles. In 1970, the Voyager went out in 1972 or something, and they can still send back like high resolution images of Saturn and stuff, but they can't go around the back of the moon and take a picture at new moon? No, bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on this, my friends. We've been lied to by my oldest child is 20 years old. She's in university, and she's not happy with me saying this kind of stuff, because she's also, like you, had the globe given to her by Disney her entire life. Her entire life. I used to believe in the moon landings, but you go back and look at these photos of them and how they did it, it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. You know, one of the first, when they first left the moon, their launcher left the moon, they got a camera that pans up as it leaves as the thing leaves the surface of the moon. Impossible. They couldn't have had a cameraman there who left behind to kind of pan up. Oh, there's so many things. I could talk for hours about these subjects. Did you get a flyer? You must take some information away. This is given to you with love, by the way. This is not. People think. One guy said to me one time, "Are you okay telling this to children?" I got a new baby now, 2.5, almost 2.5 years old, and of course I'm teaching him that water is level. There is no curving water. A little bubble of water maybe, but there's no big bodies of water that are curving. They're always level. So I'm giving you this information with love, not because I'm trying to sell you on any religion. There's no religion I'm trying to give you here today. No religion. But I'm telling you that actually, if they've lied to us about all religions and about science, then we must be very important for them to have gone to that, or for this system to have deceived us in this way. Because you might well be God. You might well be Jesus or Muhammad or whatever you want to think. You might be the center stage. In fact, I'll leave it at that. But to say that you are, I think that we are so important. But all of these religions, all of this idea that I used to sell my children. I got 2 children in university, right? And I brought them all up on as a molten core, 4,000 miles beneath our feet. We come from monkeys, or we come from, through evolution, Big Bang. I sold them on all of that stuff. But now I look at it again, something coming from nothing, that's a belief system, my friends. That's a belief system, because we can't show that. And then then there was this huge explosion, and just because billions of years passed, eventually clever life came out of that. Now, I'm saying we in science and chemistry have never made life in a chemistry lab. We've never created life ourselves. We've never, other than for a fungus or something like that, we've never been able to create any life ourselves. So the idea that you could have a wind blow through a scrapyard and out the other side comes a Formula One McLaren, impossible. You know that's impossible. So you are more divine than a Formula One McLaren, and you are created nature. This nature is created through the Fibonacci. Have you heard of the golden ratio or the Fibonacci sequence? This is like a mathematical formula that is encoded in every living thing. You do not have an explosion in a scrapyard and come out with something so perfect as a human being. Humans are meant to be. We are meant to be the very top, the very most beautiful thing ever created, but this system has made us feel like we're insignificant ants spinning around on a ball that we can't measure, that's dangerous, that there's aliens about to attack us, that asteroids are going to take us out, and that more intelligent life exists out there because we're just yeah. That's all lies. That's all lies to deny you the truth about who you are and to keep you small. And I'm offering you this information because actually it'll make you beautiful, upstanding, wonderful human beings if you really take this information to your heart. No religion. This is about, if there's a God, you're it. If there is a God, you're it. That's what I'm saying. If there's a Jesus Christ, the story about Jesus Christ is about the story about you. Not another man. I'm not suggesting you should go and worship another man. That's a bit gay, right? Don't even go there. I'm saying that you are the center of the stage here, and that this whole thing has been designed to rob you of ever knowing that truth. Which is why now I should be with my baby boy. He's 2, as I said, years old. I should be with him. It's a Sunday, and I should be with him. But I've come out and spent my time here just to try and let people know I'm not selling anything. I'm not gaining anything other than to share truth to my fellow man. I mean, I was brought up on religion like most people, and I never bought into it. Never bought into it. when I found out flat Earth, the first thing I did was went and bought a Bible because I thought, shit, the Bible was right all along. And then I spent 6 months with the Bible. And I was like, no, hold on. The Bible's still one of those things that man has printed to try and mess with man. So I'm not telling you the Bible. I'm not telling you the Quran. I'm not. Oh, no, I was an atheist. I'd become an atheist, a non-believer, because I couldn't believe that humanity could be so awful. You know, we kill each other. I was in war as a 19-year-old kid. I was in war in a country called Angola, right, in a tank. That was what I did. So and there were people dying in those battles that I was in, right? So I know all about that. I was an atheist, and then I realized, whoa, if they've mistaught us about religion, they've mistaught us about science. There's some important reason to that. And just so happens that in 2015, a friend of mine introduced me to DMT. Have you heard of the pineal gland? The third eye? In your center of your brain is this thing called a third eye. Yeah, well, it's meant to be the crown chakra, perhaps, or your connection to the higher source, right? There's a drug that your body produces called dimethyltryptamine. You can do it through your lungs, or you can do it through breathing techniques, or you can take this DMT, and I did that. It's like ayahuasca. I don't know if you've heard of that. But ayahuasca is one ceremony that people do, and they connect with God. And for me, I did DMT, and in 5 minutes, I went from atheist to a believer. My dying mother in 2011 could not get me to believe in a God. But 5 minutes with the DMT and my pineal gland open, I saw that we are part of something beautiful, something total and complete. All of this around us is part of that kind of reality. So I'm offering you this idea that there is a God, but it might only be, it's not a God in the way that the Bible or the church or all of them are trying to teach you. It's more like it's us. We are it. I'm not saying that we are God here standing now, but we are like a fractal or a representative or a part of that greater source. And when you die, I lost all fear of dying when I had that experience, my friend. And when you die, you go back to that. Now, maybe in this lifetime, you get the opportunity to learn some important lessons, and maybe something happens afterwards, right? That you don't have to reincarnate and come back to this hellhole. Or maybe if we're all better people, then eventually we'll stop screwing each other over. Right? I don't know what the gain is, but I know in my heart that I never felt like going out and telling people about Jesus Christ. But I know I want to tell people that they might be Jesus Christ. They might be Muhammad. They might be the savior you're waiting for. Might be you. And I tell people that Christian is maybe misspelt. It should be Christiam. Christ I am. That you might well be Christ. And that, my friends, is what I want to offer you with love. I'll give you one of these flyers to take away. Give you one of these flyers, and there's a lot of information there. Share it with your friends. Share it about. Do your own research, but don't trust the BBC. Do not trust the professors. The professors are there because they answered all the questions correctly, not because they're smarter than you. They just answered all the questions right, and they got to be the professor. And I'm saying, just like these guys here, they're good Christians or good Muslims who teach their religion. They simply believe what they've been taught. And the scientists are just the same. Most of them have no idea. And all they want to do when they hear about flat earth theory is say, that's just absolute poppycock. You'd fall off the edge and all this sort of hoo-ha. I've been looking at this for 4 years, and no one has come to me with any decent evidence, any science experiment that shows that we are moving or that water will bend under any other conditions, other than putting it in a container. Lovely to meet you guys. I really wish you well. Happy lives, good lives. I've got a YouTube channel if you want to check out any of my other stuff. It's called Trinity 4. Trinity 4. Yeah, Trinity 4. The number 4. All the best, guys. Much love. All right, friends. I need to...
Escaping the gravitational pull.
I won't be long.
As soon as I lose the necessary push, with Newtons, the 1 newtons of gravity pulls me back down. Otherwise, I'll just keep going forever.
It makes dogs jump, butterflies fly, water up trees.
Because anything that can...
All right. I got battery now. My friends, fellow human beings, we have been lied to successively over generations. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that what I'm about to tell you is the God's honest truth. But I am not trying to sell you on any religion or any belief system. What I'm asking you to do is go home and do some experiments and testing of your very own. 4 years ago, I discovered that there's a formula for the curvature of the earth that we live on. If we live on a ball, it's meant to be curving at 8 inches in the mile squared, which means over 10 miles, you're talking about 66 feet of curvature. But your common sense will tell you that water is always level. Then I discovered that the scientists who back in the 1800s, the world's best scientists, tried to disprove that the earth wasn't spinning. So what they did was they came up with a number of experiments, including the interferometer experiment. That experiment could not measure any earth spin. However, it did detect a movement which was caused by what was known then as the ether. So Einstein got rid of the ether because it wouldn't work with the theory of general relativity. Now, because something can be lifted off the floor and impart a little bit of energy into it and then fall back to the ground, that doesn't give you the license to say that water will now stick to the underside of a ball. Some years ago, I had an experience that showed me that the science that I've been taught, the particle physics and so on, is absolutely incorrect. That this is an electromagnetic wave system that we live in. Go and look into that information as much as you can. I haven't quite got my juice up. A scoffer and a mocker. Can I help you, sir? Any questions? Any questions? Come on, guys. If you can show me that water will bend over its surface, over any expanse, there's a friend of mine who will offer you 10,000 euros. But you know that you can go and stand on any beach in the world and look 20 miles to the further beach and see all of the street lights at night. If it were the case that we lived on a spinning ball, that we would not be able to see the White Cliffs of Dover from France. We would not be able to travel down the Suez Canal 100 miles long without the need of locks to stop the water flowing from one point to another. Ask yourself this question. If a ship leaves your port and goes to another port 500 miles away, is that port at the same level or is that port lower than you? Ask yourself that question. Then when you've answered that question, put yourself at the other port and ask yourself the question again. Relativity is a form of magic that makes you think that wherever you are on the top of a ball. But that makes no sense to the adult mind. The adult mind will realize that if I'm on the top of the ball, my friends, you cannot be on the top of the ball at the same time. You have to be underneath the ball or on the side of the ball. But you would argue to me, no, I'm in South America and I feel like I'm back on the top of the ball. This is all nonsense. Water, the physics of water, we know, is always level. Water will always find a level. There is only one sea level and one ocean level. There are tidal variations between areas, I'll concede that, but water must stay level. If it's not level, it will flow to the lowest point. This is fun. This is fun. This is fun. No, that doesn't help, sir. We know that the sky moves at 15 degrees per hour. It's called the ether. What?
You agree with tides.
Yes.
So here in France, it's high tide here and low tide here.
Yes.
So say with 20 foot difference.
Yes.
And always finds a level.
Yes.
How does that work?
Well, there are tidal swells.
Going to the low.
Yeah, well, no, there are tidal swells. I mean, because we're talking about such massive bodies of water, a few feet over 20 miles is actually very little. It's like having in your cup a slight swell that moves from one point to another.
For
That
6
doesn't.
hours,
Yeah.
it's 20 foot higher than here.
Okay.
So why doesn't it
But-
just all go down here?
Well, there are. I mean, the water is flowing. Yeah, the water is.
Flat, it always finds flat, you say.
Yes.
So if you've got a 20-mile stretch of water
Yeah.
with a slide to it,
Yeah.
as we know, if you put water on a work surface, maybe at a millimetre slope to it, it will still go off the surface.
Correct. Yeah. So try putting on a ball, sir. You willing to believe still that you're quizzing me over the details of 20 foot, where I say that this Earth has got a 4,000 mile radius, which means that there is underneath the ball there is a twist, let's say 12,000 miles of water clinging to the underside of a ball.
I believe that the high tide and the low tide it won't flow. What you just said, you can't explain that to me. You have to say the channel.
Okay. How about you, before we get to that, how about you explain how water is sticking to the ball? How is it sticking to the outside of shape when we physically cannot experiment with that? We cannot show a single experiment where the water is going to conform to the outside of the shape. That's before we even move the shape. Once you start moving it, the water becomes even less stable. So what experiment are you going to offer me?
I can't offer you any
You know,
experiment.
no, because there isn't any.
But, like I say, other than what I see and witness, but how doesn't the walk sheet off to England on a low tide and France on a low tide? Why doesn't
Well, we're getting into, I mean, the tidal mechanics are a complicated thing, and I think that actually there are undersea pumps and vents and this is what actually might be changing some of the temperature, the levels. But it's not about the moon. It's definitely not that the moon is doing that.
If it's got nothing to do with the pump, I still can't see it at a flat
Okay.
distance. From here to France, there's an area a pump might affect a few yards, a few metres.
All right.
a
All right.
square mile.
Let's take tides out of it. Let's take tides out of it.
Well, you were the one who brought up.
Yeah, well, because but you're still believing in that you come from monkeys and you live on a spinning ball. You don't. Okay, fair enough. So there is science that you don't believe in, but it's consensus science that most scientists accept, right? Would you agree? Evolution is.
I could answer your thing.
No. But we've got to agree, can't we, that there is science out there that we don't have to agree with.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Right. So the theory of gravity is theology.
There's no proof we believe in evolution.
No, and there's no proof that we live on a spinning ball other than photographs that have been proven to be images that have been given to us by the same Nazi organization called NASA.
There's people who they can make fly a plane round the world.
But we can explain that on a flat surface, and we call it a plane because it's flying on a plane. It's really simple when we start to break it down. But actually, let me give you a body of water that's not going to have a tidal effect. Like, say, in Sweden, the archipelago around Sweden, for example, there's no tide there. Right, so over any stretch of water, you can see all the on a clear day, you can see all of the hilltops and all the beaches of all the little islands around. We know that over 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles if you've got a powerful enough binocular or whatever. So when it comes to lakes, for example, we know that some guy took a photograph of Chicago across Lake Michigan, 50 miles away, and they can see all of Chicago, which should be under 2,000 feet of curve.
You said earlier about France.
Yeah.
Now, I can see the White Cliffs.
Yes.
If I'm on the White Cliffs. I've been to Dover.
Yeah.
And if you're on the seashore, you can't see France.
It depends on your visibility. Remember, the higher you are, the further you can see. It's called perspective, right? So we find that the lower we get to the water, the less far we can see. Yeah. But we can overcome that by using powerful cameras. So there's plenty of. So if you go onto YouTube, so if I can offer you just as a starter, if you go onto YouTube and type in P1000, which is a camera type, or P900, they are very powerful zoom cameras, Nikon cameras, and people are going down to the beaches all the time. They're watching ships go away. Everyone around says that ship's long gone. They'll pull up the camera and they can bring it back into zoom for another hour or another half an hour. And that's simply because of the perspective. So we lose things, on a rainy day more quickly, on a clear day and a cool day where the temperature of the water and the air is about the same, we see much further. But it's the limitations of our eyes that tell us that thing's gone over a curve. But we can prove absolutely, sir. We can prove absolutely.
Day, like I say, I can see France from the top of the cliffs,
yes,
and from the bottom I can't.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's about your perspective. But I could say that but just using the example of, because I can't tell you, I haven't been down to the beach, but I know that people say over in France they can see all of the White Cliffs, and actually those cliffs are about 300 feet high, and the distance between the two is about 21 miles, and it turns out the maths is that almost perfectly about 300 feet of curvature should be between those. So actually, if we lived on a ball, there should be obscuration.
I don't follow that.
What's that?
Whenever I've done science, you say over 8 miles or something. I was reading here.
Yeah, so
10
miles. This is mainstream Pythagorean and AutoCAD. This has been
At sea level, you can see about, I believe I was told when I was doing sailing, 11 miles at sea level.
We're told 3 miles is a horizon, typically 3 to 4 miles.
I was told in a boat. Obviously, I'm going to be on the boat.
Yeah. gives you a bit of elevation. Yeah.
So, and we've always told that 11 miles.
Okay.
So that's why I don't really follow the 8 miles.
No, I know. I know what we're told, because you can think about it. A lighthouse has been seen 40, 50 miles away, right? So the lighthouse, if it's 300 feet, should be under hundreds of feet of curvature, if the formula is correct. Now, this is not my maths. This is the Pythagorean formula of living on a sphere that size, right? Well, I mean, this was at 47 4 years ago. This is what caught my attention. I was like, because I was brought up. My dad's a seaman, right? So I was brought up around the harbour in Durban.
One bit of ultimate proof.
Yeah.
Goes against it all.
Yeah.
You've got to go.
Yeah.
Imagine a country like North America.
Okay.
Now, if that is on a ball, we've got football.
Okay.
We draw on a football, and I cut it out, which is a sphere.
Yeah.
So I cut out the back of it. Now, if the sphere's true,
Yeah.
I can't flatten that, can I?
No, there are ways of doing that, and actually that's why we find that landmasses are all.
If I get a really accurate map.
Yeah.
What happens is they put lots of splices in it.
Yes.
So then if I got a knife and cut
Yes.
it all back, there are lots of
Yes.
directions to lay it flat.
Yes.
So the distances on a real flat map
Yeah.
now would change,
Okay.
but they don't change.
Okay.
So from one state from New York to another state, that distance
Yes.
is the distance with it all
Can be
joined
measured,
together,
yeah.
not laid flat.
I'd agree with that.
I'll bring one if you're in it.
All right. All right.
To show
Well,
it.
can I? Okay.
Proves
Can you tell me?
automatically.
Can you tell me which of the two main flat maps that we're presented as being representative of the Earth size do you go for? There is
Well,
the
real
Gall
one
Peters.
that I used to have.
Yeah.
Is you got one that they use, don't know, the UN use something
Yeah.
that spreads it out.
Well, the UN map is almost like a perfect flat map, by the way.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
But that doesn't work it out because, like I say, if you've got
Yeah.
a genuine one,
Yeah.
there's bits that basically cut away the
Okay.
nothingness.
I'm gonna obvious.
The further
Okay.
away you
I know
get,
that. Yeah.
Then,
So-
so in other words, this point is 1 foot away from this point,
Yeah.
but on the map it might be like 20
Yeah.
miles, 30 miles, even the
All right.
scale.
All right.
So you have to almost put
So,
it together to
clever
make
guys
sense.
who spend a lot of time doing research have, since this came out 4 years ago, so have been poring over all of the globes and all of the maps that we have, and there are so many inconsistencies in the size of Greenland, for example. In these blue marbles that are presented by NASA, America changes size dramatically just
Yeah,
between
I
1 year and
don't think they disagree
and that
with
would be that would be impossible if they were taking a snapshot of the continent.
But I think
And
they-
actually, here's another thing that I've just learned recently, and that is that South America is nowhere near the size that is presented to us on, and nor too is Australia as big as it's presented on the globe. Now, the globe in America is sold as a toy. It's not allowed to be sold as an educational product, and no one has ever used the globe as a means of navigation. We always return everything to a flat map. But I'd concede that most things are right. Although sailors who sailed between Southern Africa and South America always had a few days, they'd always be a few days late. They could never work that out why they were always late. I'd suggest to you, the further you get away from the equator as you go south, the more things are actually splayed out in reality. But the globe naturally pulls them back around again. So, no, oh dear. There's a bit of a squabble going on over there. Bit of a tete-a-tete. This is tension, this is the sort of tension and the hatred that we get from people believing in religion. It's a lady and a man. Oh dear. Yeah, this is what you get when you give people a set of beliefs. We're telling you no more beliefs. No more beliefs.
Well, we're Christians, so you're all one.
You're a Christian. Well, I've been a Christian, but I realized that I'd been lied to. I realized I'd been lied to. And through Christianity, we have done horrible things.
But not in the name of Christ and not following the Bible.
I will give you
Following
my
man.
headline, and that is to say that I think that we are Christ. If I may. I know that's taken me years to be able to say that, because it sounds like heresy or something worse. The guy's wearing a NASA shirt. Oh my god. Hey Roxy, how are you?
Seeing your clowns at work again, darling.
Huh?
Clowns are at work again. What?
It's
Sorry.
but he's wearing a NASA shirt. Over what? Yeah, the guy's wearing a NASA shirt, so I just unplugged myself there.
Let me move this over.
I need to plug back in.
Mind your feet, sweetie.
Yeah. Sorry guys, I know you didn't come here for the Punch and Judy show, but obviously it's kicked off right here underneath me. Sorry about the technical difficulties today. I need to raise the game, as usual. See, people are very interested in a squabble. It's really raining on my Flat Earth Parade, yeah?
Fighting, scuffles, and all kinds of shit.
Sure, well, it's something in the air today, my friend. There's some weird shit going on with the... it's the moon. Well, blame the moon then. Because the ladies are linked to the moon.
Now, if this Earth
And
was
men are
round,
linked to the
it'd be
sun.
more calmer.
Yeah. On a flat Earth, we wouldn't be fighting, man. On a flat Earth, we'd be loving.
Oh, man.
We'd be loving each other on a flat Earth.
Oh, shit,
Eventually, when people like get over it, you know. Hey, let me just say a few hellos while there's all this distraction. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, 50 people. Wow. Hey,
50
morning.
people.
50
That's
people
not
watching
bad,
my
not
stream.
bad,
That's not
not
bad,
bad.
eh?
Just gonna put that there.
That's Drew. Hi, Drew. How you going? If you're still there, I've gone back a bit.
Craziness.
Hey, Debonik.
Oh shit, it's kicking
Thanks,
off
man.
again.
Oh, not again. Oh, dear me. It's moved off, so the squabble's going on. That's pretty good for me. Pretty good for me. It's all moved down the track a little bit. Yeah. Well, I'll let them do their thing. I need a bit of water. You know, in my experience, most Muslims, because I'm not saying that was a Muslim thing at all, but most Muslims are really peaceable people, and they really are. I mean that with all my heart. In the main, that's what. But of course, we are brought to certain kinds of anger, certain things. Thanks for stopping in. Oh, thanks. Yeah. We need to find some more. We need to find some more people to talk to. There's Jason of the Disbury here today, so that's cool. And I can't remember this couple's name, but they're pretty cool. Oh, this guy. It can be a nice story. It's hard for him. It's hard for the older people. Hey, it's a hot day today. Hey, there's a brother from the no foot department. I mean, no shoes department. His shoes are taking a little bit. He's a bit more hardcore than me, I can tell. Those feet in shoes for a long time. Probably going to spend a bit of time on the street. Do you don't know anyone who's carrying things to smoke today, do you?
Yeah.
So it's been a while. Not right now. Not right now. You carry on. Just nice to know, like an insurance policy. All right. It's been too long.
I've got a bit of sanity in a world gone mad.
I think it's something to do with the moon.
My bit of sanity in a world gone mad.
We need it. We need it. Hi. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yes.
Cool. Nice to meet you. Can I give you some information about this?
Yeah, I've seen you guys.
Don't mind if I
Cambridge.
film you. Oh, you saw us in Cambridge?
I saw you
I
in
was there. He was there.
Cambridge.
Yeah.
I recognise you guys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Last year.
Last year.
August, September, sometime around then.
That's right. September, I was there, passing through,
Wow.
saw you guys. I was there listening for quite a while actually, and just passing through, and I thought, I recognise you guys. Yeah.
Oh, well done you. Well done you. I mean, there's not many of us around, it's fair to say, but talking about Flat Earth.
Flat Earth.
Yes. That's I prefer, because people get like a whole lot of ideation in their head. That flat and earth put together is like a trigger word for people, or trigger phrase. So we try to say that we know that the earth isn't a spinning ball. We prefer to say that because we can't scientifically demonstrate it. We can't make a model that makes it work. We can't do an experiment that proves the earth is moving. You know, we feel, our senses tell us that they're stationary, and there's no science experiment that says we're moving. Although the luminaries in the sky is moving, yes, we can demonstrate that. And then of course water is level. Water levels. Sea is level. There's a tidal movement, but ultimately the beach, you know, if you go anywhere in the world and you can see another beach 20 miles away at night, you'll see the street lights and so on. You know, it's clear. So there's no curvature. And 4 years ago, what started me on this hunt was that I heard that there was a formula for the curving of Earth, for the bending of the Earth. And if you live on a ball, that Earth is meant to be bending at 8 inches per mile squared, according to their maths, Pythagorean maths. 8 inches in a mile squared. Now, that means that over 10 miles you're talking about 800 inches, if you follow the maths, because it's 10 times 10 squared. 800 inches, 66 foot of curvature. Over the world record photograph is 250 miles. There should be 3 miles of curving water between the observer and the beaches and the island that he's taking a photo of. It's not there. We know that water's always level. So on that basis, we know that we can't be living on a spinning ball. Now, when you go and look at NASA, and because that's where we get most of our information from, NASA is a den of vipers. You know, I think that most engineers that work for them are honest people doing their job, but they are just doing data import or gathering data sets from a coordinated, controlled source. They're not necessarily going out and testing these things for themselves. For example, they claim, for example, they can fire a laser off the moon, like reflect a laser off the moon. So a well-meaning scientist goes and pushes a button on a computer, and about 2 minutes later, the computer says beep, and they'll say, oh yes, well, we've just fired the shot of the moon, and now a photon of light has made its way back to the machine. And the machine's told us, yes, we've seen the moon, the mirror. That's all we got to go on is a machine. But when you start to unpick that, go, oh wow, a laser can fire 250,000 miles and reflect back another 250,000 miles? But the military can only fire a laser at 100 miles, that's their most powerful laser, that is 100 miles. How can NASA have a laser that's in the order of tens of thousands times more powerful than the military, who would have the best equipment? You've got to imagine. When you look at the moon landings, for example, I was a moon landing believer. When you go back and look at the moon landings, you realize, jeepers, they never tested the limb, they never tested the thing that lands on the moon, they never managed to make it work on Earth. Never. When you see the interview, there's a documentary called The Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. It's on YouTube. It won awards. It's very popular. It's had 2 million views. Now that documentary shows footage that we've never seen before of the interview with the 3 astronauts when they came back from those first moon landings, Neil Armstrong and company. They look nervous, guilty, dodgy. Their answers don't add up. One sees stars. The other says he can't see stars. Now you've got to know that if you and I were going out, the first people to go to the moon, we'd be all cock-a-hoop. Our stories would kind of match in terms of that sort of detail. We'd be super excited, super stoked, like we just won the World Cup, Formula One, Olympics, everything all rolled into one. But these guys are guilty and they look dodgy as heck. So then it's like, how did they get the video footage? For example, when the first lunar lander leaves the moon surface, they've got a camera filming the lunar lander leaving the surface and then panning up as it leaves. Now, how did they firstly pan up, and then how did they get that footage back from the moon? You know, we don't have satellite. We didn't have the ability to make transmissions, send Wi-Fi, and all that sort of stuff. We certainly couldn't send it to the moon now. You know, if you go too far away from one of these ground towers, you can't get Wi-Fi signal. You know, if you go into the countryside or in a forest or whatever, there's no Wi-Fi signal. That's because you're away from the masts. Everything is running on these masts, but we're meant to believe that they could fire a powerful enough signal from the moon. They could run these air conditioning backpacks with no batteries, basically. They could get out of a hatch that's way too small when the man's suited up. You know, all these things when you start to unpick the detail, not the flag waving thing, that's a bit of a psyop, but there's so many more things that are wrong with it. So funny thing happened on the way to the moon, and Astronauts Gone Wild. Astronauts Gone Wild is a guy called Bart Chabrel going up to about 10 of the astronauts with the Bible and saying, put your hand on the Bible and tell me you went to the moon. And all of them get angry. A few of them punch him, kick him, And in the case of Neil Armstrong says, knowing you, Mr. Sabrell, that's probably not even a real Bible. He says, Armstrong, I will give you $5,000 to any charity. Put your hand on the Bible now and swear you went to the moon. Now, if it was you and me, no problem.
Do they?
No, not one.
So they can't.
They can't honestly. They can't commit themselves to that. And you could say, oh well, you could make excuses for them and say why they wouldn't have bothered or whatever. But if it was you and me, we go, yeah, no problem, all day long, because it's what I did.
So basically, are you saying that there was no
moon landing?
Yeah.
I'm saying there was no moon landing, and the moon landing was designed, and the whole Russia versus America and the Cold War, all a ruse to keep us spending money on these things. But most importantly, to continue the lie that the Vatican started 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago, that we live on a ball and that we're simply evolved from a Big Bang, which was given to us by the Vatican as well, the Big Bang Theory, by the way, and that you are very insignificant. But the moon, as it says in the Bible, is a light. The Bible says the moon is light and the sun is a light. That's what the Bible says. When I was 12 years old, I said to my preacher, the Bible says the earth is flat. It is not telling me what my science teacher is telling me, but I went for the science. I believed the science over the Bible. Truth is. When I first found out about this flat earth thing 4 years ago, I went and bought myself a leather-bound Bible, thinking, yes, it was right all along. Now I've studied the Bible some more and gone, actually, I think it's us that's the center of creation, that it's you who is Christ, that it's you who is the Buddha or the Muhammad or the center stage, the God incarnated as a man or woman. Here, look in the mirror, you see God. That's what it says. And so I'm telling you that that's what the Bible and the religions, King James and all of them, are actually trying to hide from us, is that it's us that is God's creation or God, and meant to be having a manifested divine experience of what we are. We're meant to come here and have this most wonderful time. Now, some might argue we're meant to be, held low and fight our way up because only the best water gets through the toughest sieves and the toughest challenges. You could say that, but I'm offering you that as like wow, if I go about my life knowing that it's me, then I don't need police or government or a religious order to tell me how to be a good human, because it's written on my heart, as it says in the Bible. The truth is written in the heart. So I'm offering you that. That's why it's important. It's not because the flat earth is just the starting. That's zero. That's like the ground. If you're playing a game of snakes and ladders, that's one. That's the first step of 100 steps to the truth about who and what we are. And I, after 4 years, am making my way along that journey of 100 steps. But how far I get in this lifetime, I don't know. And whether I have to come back because I don't get to the top in this lifetime, perhaps. I don't know that. But I know that there's a esoteric and divine importance in you knowing this, in us knowing this, and I know that simply because they've spent so much effort to deny us that truth. I've got some information, a little flyer I'd love to give for you to take away.
Yes.
I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you. What's your name?
Maxine.
I'm Dave.
Hi, Dave.
I have a little YouTube channel called Trinity4, if you ever want to check it out. Trinity4, but I'll get you a flyer, Maxine. So that's a lady who saw us in Cambridge. How about that? And I got the opportunity to... There you go, Maxine. Thank you, my dear. Oh, I'm sorry. Really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
If there's any questions, go onto my channel, fire me a message or anything. But it's a beautiful thing, and it's all actually about love. At the end of the day, there's no religion to sell. There's nothing. I'm not offering you anything other than trust yourself, do some experiments for yourself, go look at the moon, you'll see the moon turns like this, like half the speed of our hand. It's unbelievable. Pick a spot on a clear night and go back after a few hours and go, shit, it has moved. I can't tell you exactly how much it moves because for the 3 years I've been watching it, it doesn't always do exactly the same thing. There's some weirdnesses about the moon. And the moon also actually is like the female energy on this earth. The sun is the masculine energy, the moon is the feminine energy. 28-day moon cycle, and I know exactly where the moon is today, even though it's cloudy. I can tell you where the moon is day by day, day by day. Now, for 3 years, because I couldn't have told you before. I was blind and dumb. And now I'm like, I watch the moon turning night by night. People have done experiments where they put cold water and water in two glasses, one in the shade of the moon and one in the direct moonlight, and the moonlight gets colder. The water in the moonlight gets 2 degrees colder, and using a magnifying glass they can get up to 10 degrees colder. So the moon is giving off a cold light, it's not reflecting the sun, it is its own light.
Can I ask, do you follow
Not at all, not at all. I used to. I used to, as I said, and actually when I first found Flat Earth, I went back to the sort of my Christian roots. And then I realized coming down here, particularly that you know, if I wear the Christian cross, I'm wearing like an idol. I'm taking an idol, and I am separating myself from my brothers and sisters around here. You know, because the moment you step away from we're all one and say there's a club that you have to belong to in order to be with me, then that's where you create division. And I mean, we see it within the Christian groups, and then of course in the Muslim groups we see all sorts of different divisions. They believe the same fundamental stuff, but little nuances of division, you know, keep people apart from each other. So I realized that if I chose one, I'd be unchoosing every other. And I don't want to do that. I want you to know that God is you, and you are us, and we are one. And there's no grouping. I mean, I might hang out with people who don't think they live on a ball. I might try and, because it's easier to talk to people who've worked out some of the basics. But even then, we don't agree on everything. I have to say, by any chalk. But I do know this thing is that we are one. And I had this sort of transformative pineal gland experience. You know about the pineal gland? DMT, yeah. Third, I had that 4 years ago. That 2015. I went from an atheist to a believer in God in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Well, DMT is dimethyltryptamine. Your body creates that when you die, or when you know, and people do breathing exercises, or can go into dark rooms, or do ayahuasca in the South American forests, yeah, and they can have this sort of pineal opening encounter. Some say it's like the Kundalini experience, but it's on steroids. It's Kundalini on steroids, as far as I can tell, because it was for me nothing like no mushrooms or acid or anything I tried in the 90s and 80s could compare to this opening of myself beyond pulling the veil off of this 3D material realm and going, oh, it's all wave, it's all electromagnetic. When God spoke, or the Creator spoke everything into existence, it's all a vibration, it's all a hum, and we're just interpreting that vibration as female, tree, road. It's all a vibration.
Because basically everything around us, all of our structures,
Yeah.
structures,
Yeah.
religious, educational,
Yeah.
are kind of like brain washes all of us into closing this down, because this is actually immensely powerful.
Yes.
And ancient people have always been aware of this
Yes.
largeness.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
have, you know, however, 500 or 600 years ago, that, you know, when you understand history and see how groups of people have been
Held back. Oh yeah.
crushed
Yeah.
through processes of genocide,
Yes.
through organised crime,
Yes.
be
Yeah.
it Christianity, be it
Islam. Yeah.
Buddhist, you know, organised religions, immenseness, because it's actually very frightening.
Yeah.
Millions of Aboriginal peoples around the world, be it on the African continent, be it throughout the Americas.
Yes.
The horizontal line is your horizon line.
Yes.
FP.
Correct.
Thousands of years.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Horizon line.
Only from the 14, 1300s.
Horizon line is always
Yeah. Well, like a moving away, we once had a much better balance with nature, and Mother Nature is a feminine energy primarily, but we live in a very masculinized world, or patriarchal world. So what we found is that perhaps out of Egypt there came this sort of patriarchal system that cherishes the obelisk, which is meant to be the penis of Osiris, and so all of the obelisks we see around are actually in honoring the male phallus, and instead of being, you know, coming from the womb of the female, they cut the rib out of a man and said we came out of a man instead of out of the woman. You know, there has to be a union between the masculine and the feminine, but you are birthed from the feminine, not the man of Adam, not his rib. They created a vagina in his rib, They cut him open and said, this is where the woman comes from. Instead of saying, no, we come from Mother Nature. It's her who births us. And this system has got us also screwed up. We have got, this is why it's mostly men and it's all left brain and none of the creative stuff and so on. So until we start to get that balance right, and I think Mother Nature is wanting to, and this is what they talk about the age of Aquarius and stuff like this, that actually there is this turning happening, and that we are, and maybe this is part of this awakening or this knowledge coming out now finally, that we are meant to be moving ourselves in love towards a more feminine based system where the feminine energy is the lawmaker and the masculine energy is the law enforcer, rather than at the moment it's the men who make and enforce the laws, and they make the religions. It's all, if you look at the Vatican, it's like a gay cesspit, there. So, that's what it is. I met these two Vatican priests. They'd worked there for 4 years and left. They were both gay, right? But they said, no, there's so much homosexuality in the Vatican. You would not, but I believe it. But that's what happens when you mess with men and tell them you can't be with a woman and stuff like that. You screw with the natural order of things, if you take a bunch of plants and you take away all the feminine energy and stuff like that, those masculine energies are not going to last very long. They won't be able to reproduce. And now we've got a society that's trying to make men into women, trying to get women to have children. Get men to have children. That kind of craziness. That's the insanity of the world that we live in, which is really a consequence of the the patriarchal world we come from. So yeah, I'm here trying to kind of, address that balance. And I'm a veteran soldier. I went to war for my country in South Africa in 1987. We had to do national service, and I ended up in war. So I'm like I could really stand here and say I've been on the other side of this system. I've been inside of it and I've done things for it. So I'm not standing here like some half-baked pussy, I don't mean rude, but I'm like, it is about men being men and women being divine feminine, that is divine masculine, divine feminine, the balance being regained. But at the moment, you've got women who are trying to be like men and men who are trying to be like women. It's all messed up. And I'm here to say, hey, let's realize that we've been poisoned, like you said, about the pineal gland. They put fluoride in the water, they put crap in our food, they even spray our skies, we think, partly to kind of try and dull us down. Yeah. So, and this is about holding us back from ever, divining the truth about our divinity. Maxine.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
And actually, coming from South
Africa
as well.
Yeah.
My God,
Yeah, I know all about propaganda. I know all about how my mind, they try to twist my mind, my next door neighbor was a Scotsman, and he said in the Bible, it says that black people are meant to be our slaves. That's what he said. And then today, I'll have black people come to me and tell me that you're the devil because you've enslaved me for 400 years. You know about the Hebrew Israelites. So you've got everybody can take this Bible and use it to their own good to kind of turn one against the other, and in case of the male-female thing, and use the Bible to have dominion over the female energy, and so the female energy has paid dearly over the last centuries because of the nature of the game. Now, I'm here going, okay, I'm not going to choose a side. I want the humanity or humankind to be my side. I want to be on that team. That's my team. That's what I'm batting for, if you like, and things, nature returning over time to a more balanced way of being. Masculine, feminine energies in balance and harmony with the world, with the earth. That's my thing. Thanks. Trinity 4, if you want to check me out on YouTube. It's not on there, but my YouTube is Trinity 4 if you want to check me out. But that's information on so much stuff. A friend of mine put that together. Information that hopefully you can share with your family, friends, really good information. But it doesn't say Trinity 4 on there because I didn't pay him enough.
I didn't know any of that.
Trinity as in the heart, body and soul, mind, body and soul, and the number 4. This is nice today.
Write down your website.
Okay. Oh, it's just a YouTube channel. On YouTube. That's Trinity 4 on YouTube.
And that's you.
That's me. Yeah. And you can go and have a look. I've got a baby boy. He's 2 years old, so I show him sometimes. My older children are in university, so they don't really care for this, really, because they've been indoctrinated totally into the idea that they... My son, to be fair, my older son, he's like, yeah, Dad, I can't argue against what you're saying. My daughter, on the other hand, she's a history major, so she doesn't like that I'm saying, you know, our whole history has been mistaught. You know, the history that's consensus history is mistaught today. I'm sorry to say that, you know, the history of us having thousands of years of high culture that's been hidden. You know, we've in Africa, all over South America's high culture going back thousands and thousands of years. You know,
Because, you know, just the word,
his story, his story.
his story. Because I am also a his story graduate.
Really?
And yeah, you know, so yeah, it's very much his
Yes.
story. And then we kind of like delve into other stories. Luckily, at my university, we had access to many different stories that were testing, that were challenging. So you see a larger picture, which is good, you know, because you've got to question everything.
Well, go and look in. Yeah, there's some friends of mine do research on a region known as Tartaria. Have you come across that? Tartaria. The Tartarians were an interesting people. Now, the Phoenicians and Tartarians seem to be important. I can't say I vouch for it all because, again, it's all based on old records which could be fabricated, just like the Bible or the Quran. They could be fiddled with, right? But if you look into that and mud flood, but use my channel as a starting point, and it'll maybe point you to some interesting areas of fascinating history. I'm really interested in history now because there's so much more. When you look at, you know, what's hidden under the buildings of London, you know, this buildings under London, you know, from previous times. It's like, how do they get to be there? How do they get to be under the city? Go and look into mud flood. Maxine, lovely to meet you, my darling. I hope to see you again. All right. Hi. All right.
I've watched you loads of times.
What's your name?
Hi, Sarah.
Oh, hi, Sarah. Sarah, you're not a psychopath, you're a high-functioning flat earther.
Oh, do you know, I just needed a black top to wear today, so I just changed it.
Oh, nice to see you, Sarah. Miss Maxine saw us in Cambridge. She remembered us. She's like, I've seen these guys before. She didn't know it was flat earth. I don't think she knew it was flat earth.
It was.
Oh, dear me. Oh, dear.
I enjoyed Cambridge. It's one of the best ones. I enjoyed that.
Good day out. Yeah. We got a lot of well-educated guys that day.
We had a lot of physicists
Yeah.
that come out.
Yeah.
Who thought they were going to destroy us.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it didn't go so well for them. But I need a water.
Yeah, where's the water? You don't know. Sorry, Dan.
Hey guys, how you doing? How's it going now? I don't have time to stop at the chat, so I hope you're behaving yourselves. I only mean that lightly, loosely. I'm sure it's all love. I've got a lot of people sending me nice messages, or a few people sending me nice messages, and enjoying the nature of the thing. And before I turned on here, Barry, yes, Barry, he said to me, Dave, I'm really liking the stuff you're saying. You know, it really resonates with me, and yeah, that's nice. It's important. Hey, you guys want to be talking about flat Earth at all? You're from America?
Yeah.
Where? Houston, in Texas. Okay, I drove through the Panhandle in 1988. I was doing like a coast-to-coast tour from one side to the other, from Boston down to New York, across to LA, up to Seattle, over through Yellowstone, Chicago, Detroit, back to 10,000 miles in total I did in 1988, 4 months. It was awesome. Road trip. Me and another guy. Now, he lives in Texas, actually, but I won't go into that. I will say that you've got to ask yourself this question when it comes to the flat Earth, because I went my whole life. I'm 51 now. I went my whole life thinking that the Earth was a ball until about 4 years ago. My oldest children, are in university, and they got brought up on a ball, right? So Now, 4 years ago, I discovered two things that I hadn't thought of before. One, there's a formula for working out how the Earth curves. And that formula is 8 inches in the mile squared. That's the first thing. Secondly, that NASA didn't really go to the moon. There's a documentary called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, made by a guy called Bart Sibrel. It won loads of awards. And you'll see the astronauts they get offered a Bible to say, put your hand on the Bible, I'll give you $5,000 to your favorite charity, to put your hand on the Bible, swear you went to the moon. Neil Armstrong says, no, I'm not going to do it. Others, one guy punches the guy, others kick him, another runs away from him. These are the astronauts running away from, if it was you and me, and we'd gone to the moon, we'd go, no trouble, give me the $5,000, give it to my favorite dog charity or whatever. So that would be the first thing to say. But then I started to find things like water. Okay, the physics of water is it's always level. So if you think about your continent, North America, you've got the East Coast, and you've got a sea level there, and then you've got a West Coast, and you've got a sea level there. Now, if you know you live on a ball, you should also know that there's a variation in height between the East Coast and the West Coast, and we should know what that height is. But the truth is that I would suggest to you that the water level is the same on one coast as it is on the other. When your teacher ever drew the continent, she would have gone water, continent with the Rockies and the Smokies and all of that, and then water, level on the other side. That's how we all think of it. But then we're never going to put the whole thing together and go, shit, but that's actually a ball, and there should be a high point in the middle and a bending, a lower point either side. So just take 10 miles. On the formula curvature we're given by Pythagoras, there should be 66 feet of curvature, or 20 meters if you're doing metric, of curvature over just 10 miles. But we can do experiments all day long that show that there is no curvature over any body of water that size. The Suez Canal is 100 miles long, and it's provably, by the engineers who built it, level from one side to the other. They say that the oceans are maybe 9 inches higher on one side than the other. That's all. Because if water was higher, you'd need a lock system stepping down to stop the water from flowing to its lowest point, because that's the natural physics of water, is it always go from a high point to a low point. Once it gets to its lowest point, it's contained, it stays there, and once it settles, it goes flat. Sure.
So, all this is good, and you are convincing me that the Earth is flat. Why is it relevant?
All right, that's a great question. Let's just assume, if we may, that's true, that what I've just suggested to you is true, that water is level, and the Earth, we can't find any science experiment that shows that it's moving, right? The Earth is moving, the sky is moving, the sun is moving, and so on. Now, if that's true, then they pulled off a lie bigger than even religion. Okay, the religion, if you're not into religion, or you choose one religion over another, you've got to realize that some people are being duped, all right? Let's just say you're Christian, you'd say, well, the Muslims have got it wrong, right? That's how it is. Now I'm saying, what if the Vatican created the ball Earth, the spherical Earth, in order to continue the deception? That not only are the religions trying to deceive us and make us into something that we're not, but that actually science was designed to deceive us and make us to something that we're not. And that opens a whole interesting raft of questions about then what the heck? Why would they go to that amount of trouble to lie and deceive us, right? What could I be that would make me think that I was so, or that they would go to that much trouble? Or they could pull off such a devilish plot? Well, 4 years ago, I was an avowed atheist. I didn't believe in God whatsoever. I went through Christian church study as a kid. I carried the cross, the candle up at the altar and all that sort of stuff. I did all of that when I was a kid. And I said to my preacher when I was 12 years old, I said, the Bible says the earth is not moving. The Bible says the sun and the moon are small lights that go above the earth. That's completely at odds with what my science teacher is telling me. So I went for the science. Well, 4 years ago, a friend introduced me to something called ayahuasca. Have you come across ayahuasca? Do you know what the pineal gland is? Do you know what the third eye is? The third eye is this here in the center of your brain. There is a little gland, pine cone shaped gland, that is known as the pineal gland. You can go to South America, or even in America now, you can do an ayahuasca ceremony, which is like a 6-hour plant ceremony, which takes you to the gods, to put it simply. It opens up this portal. Now, I did this 4 years ago, but I did it in the smoked version called DMT, or dimethyltryptamine, which is what is made in your brain. And you smoke this, and you have a DMT experience. You can go and Google this. Now, there's a documentary called DMT, the Spirit Molecule. You can go and look into the spirit molecule, and you will find out that this is like a gateway to opening this portal. Now, in 2011, when my mother died, she was trying to beg me to take God, Jesus, and all of that stuff. I was like, Mom, there is no God. There is no God. 5 minutes after smoking the DMT, it took 5 minutes, the trip. And I came back and the first thing I said was, it's true, there is a God. In 5 minutes. And I was 46 years old at the time. So I'd gone through most of my adult life thinking, not willing to believe in anything like that. But I've done, when I traveled in America in 88, I did good acid, good mushrooms. I can assure you.
You need to get high.
No. I'm giving them my testimony about how I realized that actually, well, one of the other things I said, the second thing I said was, how come I never knew about this? And how come at 16 years old, everybody should do this? Everybody should be able to do this. In some ancient cultures, this is part of the becoming an adult, is they put you through a ceremony just like this, where you go and smoke some funny shit in a cave, and then you come out 3 days later. Ayahuasca, exactly. Ayahuasca is plant medicine. We're talking about plant medicine, which if you Google DMT or ayahuasca, you will find that it's organic. They are taking hard case drug users out of Los Angeles, flying them into Peru, and within 3 days, they never do drugs again. Let me tell you that after doing the DMT, I never wanted to do cocaine, ecstasy, you name it. I never wanted to touch drugs. I have had about 5 beers in 4 years. No alcohol, I don't do drugs, I don't do any, and I'm not recommending drugs, but I'm telling you this is a plant. And if you don't think that plants are good for you, look into how cannabis can cure cancer. Cannabis is curing cancer, and you will know now that in America they have CBD, and cannabis. People are putting their own testimonies. Well, I'm afraid if you go and do the research, you'll find that Charlotte's oil. I said go and do the research, because there are plenty of people talking about their cancer being cured by using cannabis only. By using cannabis either to put on skin. So we know that plants have got medicine. There are a plethora of plants. There are a plethora of plants that are medicine. This is a matter of fact. And ayahuasca is a medicine. For me, it was my transformative experience that made me realize that we are part of God. We are part of creation. That there is a God, there is a creation, and we are one with that. Now, when we die, we return to it. But when I found out that the earth was flat 4 years ago, I went back and bought myself a Bible. After having been atheist and all this, I went and bought a leather-bound Bible, and when I'm reading this again, because it told me when I was a child that the earth is flat. I told my preacher when I was a child that the earth is flat according to this book, so I'm going back and reading it. And what did I discover? I discovered that the Bible is a fantastic handbook to tell you about who and what you really are. It's full of allegory. Let me finish. It's full of allegory, and the allegory is that you are Christ, that you are the Muhammad. It took me a long time to be able to say that. As a former Christian, I struggled with the idea, because we are told that we are not worthy but to eat from the crumbs from under the Lord's table, from under the Most High table. But as I was just explaining to a lady a minute ago, the truth is that in nature, it's the mother that births the baby, not the man. They have given us a patriarchal system of control by giving us a guy called Adam. Now, Adam, he has to have his rib cut open in order to give birth to the woman. But in nature, we know that the woman simply can give birth because she is equipped to give birth to children. So we've been given a complete turnaround that has hidden the divine masculine from himself, and more importantly, the divine feminine from herself. So what I've come to realize is that this isn't a material world. We're not formally monkeys coming through. The Big Bang is given to us by the Catholic Church, by the way. And so why would the Catholic Church give us the best theory about how the Bible is wrong? You've got to ask yourself that. And ask yourself how the religious orders are right behind the evolution or the design of the globe Earth. There's no globe that has ever been produced that is the perfect representation of Earth. And all the photographs that NASA have given us have been proven to be digital images that have been stitched together. A guy called Robert Simmons admits that they are digital images. There are no photos of Earth from space. So if you get that idea that, wow, they've lied to us about everything, you start to realize that, heck, you might be way more important than what the Bible would allow you to believe. That you might well be the center of creation. You might well be the reason you are here. Pardon me?
Religious as well.
No, I'm not religious.
Yeah, you are.
Am I? Where's my religion? What's my religion? No, I'm saying that there is no religion, bro. I'm saying there is no religion is control. I'm saying the religion is control.
Your own religion and your own control, but it's still religion.
Why? I'm telling people to trust themselves. Yeah, well, actually, your senses tell you that the Earth is flat.
Use the word research like you've ever based your own life.
So you believe that the sun's at
One-off example. And then quote from
the sun's here, so your relatives are freezing.
Okay, what science experiment would you use to prove that the Earth is spinning? No, I'm back to you. What science experiments? You want to believe in gravity? You want to believe in a religious doctrine called gravity and relativity? There is no science experiment that proves gravity. That's why it's called a theory. That's why relativity is called a theory, because theories, like theology, are an idea.
and getting high. Your idea of research.
I got some information. Take that with you. Yeah, sure. It sounds harsh on the ear. As a Christian, I know that it sounds very harsh on the ear to say that you might be Christ, you might be the Muhammad. I know that's really harsh to hear. But you'll know this when you die. I promise you, you'll find this out. If you're not before, you'll learn this when you die.
I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Good luck.
Hey,
Good luck. Good
got
luck.
a lot of research to do. Thank you.
Well, check it out. Check it out. You know what? You can take the moon. You can take a microphone. All right. All right. Thanks for the help there, bro.
Thanks for the ideas.
All right. Good luck, man. All the best.
This is a religious experience.
For you, well, gravity is religious. Gravity, belief in gravity is religious, bro.
You're talking about religion, not me.
Do you believe in gravity?
You're talking about.
Do you believe in gravity? Ah, you're the only one who mentioned. You're the only one who mentioned. Well, that wasn't a question. You said you made a statement. You made a statement that I believe in religion.
Beings is by asking.
You've been quite. Hey, listen, bro. The gloves are off. You've been quite rude. So don't even come here with that shit. You believe in gravity. You believe in relativity. You believe in the science gods. That's your religion.
You talked about flat Earth.
Bye-bye. Hello. You got questions? You got questions? Oh, Shane. There's no rudeness here, bro. You're the one interrupting my conversation.
If you want to have respect, show respect. But that's you. You never show respect.
Huh? Oh, really?
It's a real world now. It's a real world.
It's the astral thief. Oh, bro. Oh, there it is. It's a premiere of the Globe Light Tour 2 camper van. I'm just a little bit shaky because I've been harassed by some toolbox.
Alright, so I'm gonna shoot off that.
It's Astral Thief. Everyone, say hello. I think I need a. Hey, Rox, how about that? I think I might. I should take a little break. How many people is it? 44. Yeah, patrol.
I went to a lecture when I was concerned. I went to a lecture.
Yeah, I might take a break, guys, and come back in 10 minutes. So I look forward to seeing some of you back. For those who can't come back, fine. Thanks very much for stopping by, and I hope that's been useful. Oh, I should say, as I usually do, please be inspired to go out and do a little bit of activism if you can in some way, even if it's just this chalk. I do this whenever I can, wherever I can. Hey, man. Yeah. So there you go.